Well, good
Okay.
morning, Philippines. Good evening, Washington State. My name po is Teresa Pandaversosa.
Yeah.
And I'm Dr. Jude Verzosa.
And I am Bishop Ambo David.
Okay,
Well, I think we should introduce ourselves first, right?
okay.
We are Empowered Philippines po. We are a non-profit charity organization based in the United States. We also have our headquarters in the Philippines. Our mission is to empower the poor, particularly those who are the lost, the last, and least. And part of our mission, we consider ourselves as missionaries, and part of our mission is to we do feeding programs. We empower the poor folk by building schools, particularly in tribal lands in very remote areas. We try to support those vulnerable street children, and we do medical and surgical missions. These are the things that we often do. Do you want to talk about why we're speaking in English?
So for our viewers here in the Philippines and in America, we would like to explain to you why we're discussing or conversing in English. It was discussed with Bishop Ambo last week during the test drive if we would talk in English, because most of our donors are actually from the States. So we just want to be inclusive, but also because I also want to speak in Tagalog because Filipino po kami ni Jude and I'm Kapampangan. In fact, when I introduce officially our guest for today, he and I are from Pampanga also. So we would be speaking in English, we would be speaking in Tagalog because we just want to be welcoming, because after all, this is coffee conversations. So that is the reason why we're speaking in English, because it's the uniqueness of Empower Philippines.
Yeah, and a little bit of a disclaimer: this is our first time. This is our pilot episode. We're not journalists or professionals by any means. As a matter of fact, if there's anyone, I'll probably be the last one to be in front of the camera. And so please forgive us if we make mistakes. This is what we're trying to do is trying to reach out to the folks out there who are heavy into social media use, but are tired or exhausted of the negativity, of the things that you often hear in social media. We want to create something that's more inspirational, something that's light and relaxed and more conversational, right, Anne?
Yeah, so we will be very casual, In fact, may butas pa yung t-shirt ni Jude, just realized may partibli in the damit ko because we just want to be home. It's our being home with you, and we hope that we can be in your home right now, and it will be very casual, very personal, very real and human. And I think I would like to officially introduce. So the pleasure and honor is mine to introduce to you our special guest for this pilot episode of Coffee Conversations. Why? He's my favorite bishop, not just because he can hear me, just because naririnig niya ako, but I think I've known him since I was 15 years old. I was a lecturer in the Metropolitan Cathedral in San Fernando, Pampanga, in my province in the Philippines. And since then, he's been our family friend and very supportive, especially of my mom. And then I remember when he learned that my father passed away, he said, "How come I didn't know?" That touched my heart, things like that. And so he came over with us, broke bread with us before here in, when was that, 2 years ago, here in Bonnet Lake, Washington. And then also pagka sa bahay namin sa Pampanga po. And also vice versa, he would welcome us in his residence in the Diocese of Caloocan. Was one time I told him it's my birthday and I wanted to, and he says, "Come over, tell me how many you are." And I was with my mom, with my boys, and it was just so welcoming. He's special because of that, but more than that, he is so intellectual heavyweight, but at the same time, he can be so pastoral. He's a renowned Bible scholar. Oh, the best. You have to hear his homilies. Sometimes you just have to have a interpreter. Sometimes pag Tagalog ang homilies niya po. But my point there is, he is a defender of the poor.
And it's very real.
Very real, and of the weakest link in the society, especially in his diocese. He's the vice president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of the Philippines. And in fact, at St. Andrew, here in Sumner, when he had his homily, he's just a phenomenal story writer, a storyteller. And after the Mass, when everyone's gone, Father Jerry, the parish priest, he said, Therese, how did you know this great guy? And then I laughed and I said, well, I'm special. It's the who you know, but we were just laughing and joking because they loved him. His storytelling is just amazing. It makes everyone feel, you know what, I can relate to this guy, even though he's just so intellectual, such a he's a powerhouse.
He captured the audience, that for sure.
Yes, and one of the most active bishops in social media, which is today we need. The young generation, they need someone they can text, they can relate, they can Facebook message. So I would like to introduce to you our very good friend, the Bishop of the Diocese of Caloocan in the Philippines, Bishop Pablo Virgilio David.
Hello.
Hello, welcome, Kwamong.
Thank you, Jude. Thank you, Therese, for having me in this coffee conversation. It's the first. No? Is it the very first?
It's our pilot episode, and so we are honored that you're indulging us.
Yes, thank you. It might interest you to know that I have shifted into English also for my online masses, because of the demand. I think we're being followed by anywhere between 40,000 to 60,000 from all over the world, and most of them would rather follow the Mass in English. So I used to celebrate Masses only in Tagalog here in the Diocese of Caloocan. But lately I asked them if it was okay if I could celebrate it also in English. And they said, no problem. So if it's no problem for them, then even better for the rest of the people abroad. Like there are people from Abu Dhabi, Qatar, from New York, from LA, from Los Angeles, from London, who are following the live stream masses. Yeah.
So your diocese has expanded across.
Yeah. In principle, I feel very awkward about it because it's like I am intruding into the spaces of other diocesan bishops.
Well, that's the internet for you. There's no walls. By the way, Bishop, do you have your coffee?
Oh yeah, I have to ask my secretary to get some coffee.
Show your favorite mug.
Well, I'm biased, so I don't know.
Wow.
It's Pampanga. We share the same home province with Bishop. Pampanga.
This is my favorite mug, Bishop. It says,
oh wow.
I love my Wi-Fi.
Oh, I love my wife.
I love my wife. Yeah. Can I just run for a second and ask for coffee?
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Well.
So while Bishop is doing that, we want to read some of the comments. I think Roy Yusi says,
Oh, there's Bishop.
I'm back.
Oh wow, that's really quick. Show us your mug, Bishop.
No, it's still brewing, right?
Oh, it's still brewing, is it?
Yeah, they're still making it.
All right. Okay. So well, we prepared a couple of topics for Bishop.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I just wanted to tell you that we wanted to make this coffee conversation light, and so maybe you're wondering why it's only 30 minutes, but also because I know Bishop has a mass after this. He said,
yes. I'm supposed to say mass at 12 noon.
12 noon. So okay,
Yeah.
wherever you
That's
open.
okay. We have time.
Very
Right.
good. Okay.
Well, Bishop, we've listened to you talk. You're not just a great storyteller, but you evangelize it as it is. And there are times when you do so, and it sometimes stings. And I think that's the way that we should be evangelizing, right? We call the truth as it is. Central to most of your homilies usually is Christ being present. I saw this video that you made. It was well made. It was beautiful, about suffering and how we could and how we should realize that Christ is with us during this journey, in the presence of the poor, in the presence of the frontliners, in the presence of those people who give of their time and their efforts to help. And that it's okay to be afraid. It's okay to be scared. Speaking of scared, Bishop, have you ever been scared of, especially during the pandemic, getting COVID?
Yeah. So did you ever get scared? Does Bishop Ambo ever get scared? Ever become like human? Like,
because you're always out there.
Of course I am. I am as human as you all are, so why would I not feel afraid? I am as capable of worrying and sometimes also overcome by fears. Uh, I must admit to you that there were days when, after watching the news, I just couldn't sleep. I don't know if you experienced that too. Well, good thing, I have friends also among the psychiatrists here. Uh, I have volunteers. I sayang, just I think
Mm-hmm.
yesterday we had a psycho-spiritual seminar. We launched our new ministry called Kaagapay. It's the We call it the Ministry of Psycho-Spiritual Accompaniment for people in the midst of the pandemic
Okay.
crisis.
Okay.
Yeah. And we realized that a lot of people are really beset by anxieties, panic attack in the midst of this crisis. So, I've been through that too. You find yourself sometimes trying to seek as much information about the coronavirus as you
Yes.
can,
Yeah.
and then you don't realize that the overload of information. Oh, here's my coffee. Yeah,
Yay.
it is generic. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's blue. It's very good. That's a favorite color.
Okay. Cheers.
Oh, I think.
Whether
Oh,
okay, sometimes
thank you very much, Gigi. Um, so you don't realize that the overload of information is already triggering anxiety.
yes.
Um, like you start asking, is this airborne? What are the micro droplets? Is the Philippines ready for this? At least in America, they have a better healthcare system, and they are still complaining about it. you
That's
know
true. That's
and yet here in the Philippines, we have a very primitive healthcare system. We have a lot of excellent doctors and nurses, but the healthcare system is not properly in place. So I became more anxious when I heard, especially of a lot of doctors and nurses dying. That really bothered me,
Right.
and especially because some of them sought help directly from me. And I felt so helpless because I couldn't visit them. I wouldn't be allowed. Even if I wanted to wear what do you call that? A PPE, a protective
Right. Right.
yes.
equipment,
Yes. Personal
No,
protective equipment.
no. You would not be allowed. But we were allowed to get in touch with the patient by phone.
Mm-hmm.
And it was exasperating that at the moment that I wanted to reach out already to the patient who earlier really wanted to talk to a priest. By the time that I made myself available, he was intubated already. And
Oh.
that really bothered me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also gave me some sleepless nights.
So
But before the government declared the lockdown here in the Philippines, I was exposed to several people who traveled abroad.
yes, yes. Tell us that.
Yes, yes. I met a couple that was in the same flight where the first COVID case in the Philippines was recorded, and I met two religious priests who had just come from Italy.
Uh-huh.
And then one of my priests just came back from California, and he did not immediately quarantine himself. So you see, bishops meet a lot of people. So uh, because of that, I started to get worried. I got even more worried when I learned that some carriers can be asymptomatic.
Symptomatic. Yeah.
Mhm.
You don't
Yeah.
know, right?
So I started asking, what if I'm positive and I become the cause of the infection of other people? You know, um, all of those worries, I realized were also in the minds of so many other people. And when you get to share about them and listen to other people's worries, and
Mm-hmm.
then they get relativized, and they say, oh, I'm not alone.
Yes.
Right.
so
Right.
so people are also worrying that way. uh, but these worries did not last very long. They were quickly replaced by several other worries, which have to do with my pastoral and administrative duties as a
Mm-hmm.
bishop. You know,
Nice.
like I started asking, are my priests equipped to put up online masses?
Right.
How do they respond to requests for blessings, for
Mm-hmm.
funerals, for confessions, for the other sacraments? What will happen to the poor during the lockdown? They keep saying stay home, but some people, live in homes that can hardly be called homes in, let's say, American standards.
Mhm.
So,
Hello, Bishop.
uh, yeah, what spares me from being focused on myself is compassion. I realize that compassion saves us because sometimes when we're too focused on ourselves,
Mhm.
then we're more vulnerable, we're more prone to a lot of panic, fear, and anxiety. But when we begin to express compassion,
Mhm.
when we begin to learn about what other people are going through, all our fears and anxieties are lessened.
That's
That's
true.
Right.
why, for me, compassion is a medicine also. It's
Compassion
not
for
like,
you. Mhm.
yes, it's not like you're doing others a favor. They're doing you a favor also.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Hello,
So,
Bishop. Uh,
yeah,
if I'll add to that, fear and anxiety are very primitive emotions. They come from the very primitive portion of the brain, and maybe millions of years ago we used that to survive. Oh, I'm gonna get eaten, or I'm about to die. There's a reason for me to
mm,
be anxious, and anxiety propels you or motivates you to defend yourself or to run or to
yeah,
prepare for something that
yeah,
can be a disaster.
yeah,
But we have been equipped by God to have the prefrontal cortex, that center of the brain that's able to rationalize things. And I think that's where compassion comes from. It's the
mm,
ability to not just to empathize. Empathy is different. It's putting yourself in somebody else's shoes. But compassion is to be able to process the fear and anxiety of things that you don't know about and to make
yeah,
something productive out of it, something more human out of it. And I think, and I wrote a piece on mercy, and I really believe what you're saying. And if there's anything that would save the Filipino folks, it is not the hospital system, not maybe not what's going on, or the excellent physicians and the wonderful nurses. I think it's going to be compassion and mercy. What do you think?
yeah. You know, Jude, I remember attending your lecture, and
Yeah.
I
I took
will
that.
never,
This
I will
January.
never forget that lecture. You know,
Oh, thank you.
and
Yeah.
I said, this guy is a different kind of doctor. You
Of
know?
Uh,
course. Say
this,
it again. Say it again. One
this,
more time because we're live.
this
It
is
only
record.
happens
This
once.
is recorded, right? Skylar better be recording this.
Yeah, hear that.
you know, you know what you know what I'm proud of, Jude, is that you don't compartmentalize the body and the soul, because I can see in you a more holistic kind of practice of medicine, and uh, and I think we need more people like you. That's why I would be interested to hear about what you call the clinical aspect of compassion,
There.
that
Right. Yeah.
that it is scientific too,
Yeah.
that there is a basis for believing that it is therapeutic, it's very healing.
Right. Right. That's very true, Bishop. But I get my inspiration. I get really spanked if I
You
don't
didn't have to say
if I
that.
misbehave. I've got a Kapampangan for a wife, and so I'm always put in my place, Bishop.
Your wife is wearing red, she looks like a cardinal now.
A cardinal. Okay. Hindi pa naman
Oh
father
my
or bishop.
goodness.
Matching yan, Bishop, with the matching.
That means I'm superior than bishop. No.
But, Bishop,
Okay.
isn't it true? Especially these days, society is so fearful, and it's so easy to judge if you're fearful. If someone so much as sneezes in front of
Mhm.
you, you're like, oh my God. So, has anybody ever sneezed on you, Bishop? I know that's a silly question, but you fight the urge to, oh, wait a minute.
You
COVID-19.
know, I tell you, one time I was celebrating Mass, and there were volunteers. They were very kind-hearted volunteers, but they came from outside, and you never know who they are exposed to. And one of them was coughing. You
Mhm.
know, I kept looking if he was wearing a mask, and well, he's a choir member, so he had to put down his mask in order to sing. So I started to worry too. I said, "Oh my goodness, there are several others among us, because when we celebrate a mass, there would normally be the priest, one altar server, there would be the sacristan, there would be the lector and the commentator, and let's say a song leader. That's basically it. Very lean, very lean. We never reach the number 10. That's how we conduct our liturgies, no? But you know, it's like sometimes you also entertain the thoughts of dying. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us about it, Bishop. Tell us about it. Take us into the mind of Apong Ambo, Bishop Ambo.
What are
When
your
it comes
thoughts
to
on
dying.
dying? Yeah.
Well, whenever I felt some symptoms, even simple things like my allergic rhinitis, people would notice my voice and suggest that I undergo a COVID test. You feel an itch in your throat, you feel a bit feverish sometimes, and you're already asking, my God, I hope this is not the onset of COVID. Well, to tell you the honest truth, dying is not the real issue for me, as far as I'm concerned, because I have long reconciled myself with the possibility of dying. It's not dying itself that I find horrible from the description of people who died from COVID-19. You know what I find really horrible? What I find really horrible is the fact that they have to suffer alone, that they could not be supported by their loved ones, that they could not even avail themselves of the sacraments, the sacrament of reconciliation from a priest, that their families would not be allowed to organize the usual social rituals related to the dead if they die, the wake, the funeral service, and of course the stigma that goes with it. You know,
Oh,
you
yeah.
won't you won't believe it. The stigma is very strong. It's like we're back to the biblical days of leprosy. Oh, even health workers are
Right.
ostracized. That's why we started opening our schools and our retreat houses just to house some health workers who are not allowed in their barangays because people are afraid that they would bring the disease with them. You know,
Right.
so yeah, like I said, it's not my own death. I reconciled myself with my own death. It's more the idea of dying alone.
Yeah.
Like that must be horrible for a lot of people. And like as a priest, I get very bothered that I would allow a thing like this. Is there anything I can do to make someone feel that he is not alone in this terrible crisis? Yeah, that's my concern.
Yeah. Yeah. Bishop, the counterpart to that is, as I've witnessed a lot of patients die, one of the most peaceful processes of dying is when you're surrounded by loved ones.
Yeah.
And that's always been our prayer, right? A happy death surrounded by loved ones.
Yeah, but COVID-19 taught me individually, and maybe Bishop and everyone else, that wow, you plan, but God has the last say. Even the dying alone. Flying back to the Philippines for my mom's event. Hi, mommy. Okay, it was a surprise, but anyway. So the Gethsemane cemetery counselor asked me if I have any questions about my last requests when I die, and that was before COVID. And then I realized if I had filled out that pre-need cemetery funeral requests, but I die anywhere anyway. If I had COVID in the Philippines and God forbid I die, I get cremated, whether I die from COVID-19 or not, I think, your family can't be there for you in the wake. So I said, what's the point, but I was preparing for how the funeral would look like, but in the end.
Yeah.
You can't plan, right?
Yeah.
But I heard this from a deacon who I met, I think in Georgia. He said the best way to make God laugh is to start planning. Because really, it's never been in our control.
That's true. And it's very humbling, Bishop. It is very humbling.
It is, yeah.
And you need it. I needed that.
Yeah. Hey, Bishop, I wanted to make sure that I greet Attorney Bong Roque, who is going to release an ebook, a launch, Instead of Sheep, beautifully written. I saw the
Yes.
first few pages, right?
Yes, it goes along with coffee, except that that book is supposed to make you sleep, but coffee is supposed to not make you sleep. But
Right,
let's
right.
say,
Very clever, no, the title, because it makes you sing. You say,
yeah,
Oh,
instead
it's so,
of
yeah, and if you're worried and you can't sleep, just count your blessings instead of sheep. Very clever of Brother Pong, no?
you know, you just gave me an idea, Bishop. Maybe we could do a karaoke party next time. But Bishop, you yourself you're an excellent writer. You've written a lot of books. Is there anything coming up soon?
I believe
Yeah.
there is, yes.
Yeah. Well, we were supposed to publish the book about the human Jesus up close.
Oh,
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes, it's entitled Yeshua, the Son of Man. Yeshua is the Hebrew name of Jesus, no?
mhm.
And it was ready. It was in print already, but we were not able to launch it
Oh.
because of the lockdown. So we started entertaining the thought of possibility of coming up with an ebook form, no? So
Right.
that because now I think it's a lot more difficult to get the hard copy to reach people, but the world has become so small because of digital technology. If that's
Mm.
if that's the best way to do it, why don't we do it? Why don't we go for it? So I think we are going to go for it.
Yeah, do it, Bishop. I sense who knows, maybe a movie coming up, right?
Yeah. Hey, did you watch The Chosen?
Chosen, yes, yes.
Wonderful. It's so beautiful.
Beautifully.
I wish you can get me in touch with the producers of
Let's
that
do
movie.
that.
Let's try. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to share my book to them. Yeah, because
Okay.
yes, because I can relate to the way they are.
This one that you're about to launch.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Because they have only produced a few episodes so far. I can
Mhm.
almost anticipate the next episodes that they will produce,
Yes, we'll
But
call.
Right.
yeah,
We'll
but
take a tweet out. Yeah.
I wish I can make a contribution to them,
There you
because
go. I think
I believe in
well,
what they're doing,
yeah,
They're
this is
doing it very well.
yeah. So the director's name is Dallas Jenkins, I believe.
Yes.
Jude and I contributed a little bit for that, so that it can be seen
Yes.
in the whole. Because
This is the first, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first crowd-funded movie. You know how difficult it is to create something religious or anything of religious significance in Hollywood.
not in Hollywood.
And so
Yeah.
I commend these guys. They've done a wonderful work, and they put the humanity back in Jesus's life.
Yes, but
right?
they need budget from everyone, and so we shared a little bit, not a lot, but then we could do it. We'll make sure we get in touch with them, and
it's a project worth supporting, huh? Because
Right.
I'm so amazed that they made it free. It's like, can you imagine producing what would you call this? A film that is worth hundreds of millions of dollars,
Yeah.
and then just making it available online like that.
Yeah.
I have nothing but admiration for the people who produce this.
Yeah.
And I wish they continue doing it. I think we should all support it,
Yeah. That's it. For those who are listening, it's called The Chosen. By the director is Dallas Jenkins.
Dallas Jenkins, and the actor who portrays Jesus Christ is Jonathan. How do you pronounce his last name? Rumi.
Jonathan Rumi.
Jonathan Rumi. He does Divine Mercy, Bishop, every 3
He's a Roman Catholic, no?
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what Skyler said.
It's an ecumenical endeavor, no?
Right.
Yes, it's ecumenical. And there are evangelicals, Pentecostals, I think Catholics and Protestants there.
Yes.
I find it amazing how they did it, yeah.
Bishop, I'll share something with you. Skyler said something one day. He said, hey, look at Jim Caviezel. And now Jonathan Rumi. They're both, Jim Caviezel played Jesus in the Passion. And Jonathan Rumi played Jesus in The Chosen. And he said, I knew it. Jesus is Catholic. They're both Catholics.
Sorry.
That's very funny.
Yes.
Hey, we're running out of time. You still have
so
yeah.
So we would like to ask you, Bishop, for
Yeah,
parting words and parting wisdom. We know for our audience, it was
yeah,
very short, and to speak about death, to speak about
yes,
dying.
Or
Sometimes
fear.
it's we were saying coffee conversations. It's a casual conversation, but that when the topic is involving grief,
yeah.
death, and dying, how do you say that it is casual? But it
Mm,
has to be casual. It has to
yeah,
be from your heart, because if you hide it, if you don't want to talk about it, the more it's going to haunt you, you know.
yeah.
And so, Bishop, what would you like to
Closing
tell
remarks.
everybody who's listening
Mm.
with us? Anything that you might think will be a take-home message for everyone.
Well, with regard to the whole idea of being prepared for death, you know, priests like us have to be ready to die always. We have the ritual of writing and updating our last will and testament every year during our annual retreats. And it is usually not the family that attends to our hospitalization, death, and burial. Like my primary family now is the clergy of the Diocese of Caloocan. So my siblings are still there, and they're still all very caring. They're still, very much involved in my life. But my primary family is already the church.
Mm.
And, you, I would like to share that in my kind of life and ministry, you won't survive without nurturing an interior life. It has become my survival mechanism. I have this very personal relationship with God through Jesus and his mother. They're not just historical characters for me. They're not, people who lived 2,000 years ago. They're very much alive for me, right here, right now. I go early to bed and wake up early in order to have coffee with Jesus, my ritual.
Mm.
And this is my major prayer period. Um, it lasts anywhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours.
Mhm.
Wow.
Um, and the rest are minor prayer periods. I cannot survive without it. And I just take my cue from the Gospel's description of the prayer life of Jesus himself, especially in the Gospel of St. Luke. According to St. Luke, Jesus makes it a point to wake up very early in order to pray in a deserted place where he could be in solitude. Now, that's how I survived, the many challenges and the crises that we have to face in this life. And so there, usually I just, sit there. Um, Much of my prayer period is listening, more
Mm.
listening than talking.
Mm.
Uh, I would, of course, read the readings for the day. I would pray the Lauds. I would meditate, and then later on just set them all aside and allow Jesus to talk to me. And usually I ask him, hey, Jesus, what is it that you want me to say to your people today through me? You know, and before I know it, my homily begins to take shape already. The silence and the listening part, takes much longer. And then later on, I harvest the fruit of prayer by noting them down in digestible bits and pieces or points that can become a homily.
Mm.
I must admit I cannot pray at night because I usually fall asleep. My evenings are, I call my evening an appointment with Mama Mary. And
Mm.
my main prayer in the evening is the rosary.
Oh,
I walk around and pray the rosary, and I recreate in my imagination the mysteries of the Holy Rosary.
beautiful.
And then my prayer before I go to bed is an examination of consciousness. I just recite Simeon's Canticle, and then the last thing I say before bed is "Good night, Mama Mary."
Mm.
Wow.
And the first thing I say when I wake up is "Thank you, Lord, for the restful sleep. Jesus, I love you." That's my regular day.
There you
So
go.
Beautiful prayer, Bishop. So inspiring. So
good
inspiring.
night, Mama Mary, and then thank you, Lord, for the restful sleep. Jesus, I love you. That's my. That's
Yeah.
how I keep going.
Yeah. Very powerful, Bishop. Very powerful. Prayer is also listening. I like that. So
Yes.
Bishop, we will let you go. I know you have
Thank you.
mass in about
Yes.
20 minutes.
Yep. Yep.
Thank you for joining us, Bishop.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you. God
And
bless.
for everybody who tune in with us,
Please like, so we know if we're doing well.
we would like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're not professionals. We're just ordinary couple, but we just wanted to be home with you, and that you are home with us as well.
Right.
And thank you, Bishop, for
Thank you
welcoming
very
us
much,
to your
Teresa, Jude. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank
Good.
you. God bless you, Bishop.
God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.